Today's Easy 99.1 presents South of Boston, a weekly discussion of the happenings, business, and community events from Quincy to the South Coast and beyond. Any opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of the ownership, management, or staff of today's Easy 99.1. It's South of Boston with this week's host, Charlie Gilmore.
Welcome to South of Boston, conversations with South Shore business community and leaders. I'm your host, Charlie Gilmore, and this week's guest is Michael McMahon and Marisa Pacheco from Hill & Partners. Welcome to the show, Michael and Marisa. Could you say hello to the audience?
Hello.
Hi, I'm Michael McMahon, CEO of Hill & Partners. Nice to talk to you today.
And Marisa, you are?
Senior Marketing Coordinator for Hill & Partners.
Okay, all right. Hill & Partners, you present yourself as a branded environmental firm, not a branded environment, all right? So could you explain to our listeners what your branded environment is?
Yeah, our primary business is that we support companies in the B2B marketing space.
Okay, so, B2B being business to business.
Correct,
okay.
Correct. So we show up in the space with a company that usually has a high or a strong focus on their brand in the marketplace as a percentage of their company's value. And where we help them out is in the B2B space or face-to-face marketing. We do a lot of things to enhance that opportunity to get the best return.
Okay. Now, how did you get into this?
Me specifically,
yes.
Or us? Actually, me specifically, I started out in the restaurant business a long time ago and used to moonlight for a friend who was in the trade show business, which is the B2B face-to-face marketing space. And over the years, used to take my vacations and then ultimately chose to move into that space.
Okay. So, Marisa, how did you meet Michael and how did you guys come together to work together?
Great. I started at Hill & Partners as a graphic designer about 9 years ago. They had a need for an in-house designer, and I was working for a company doing some smaller trade shows, so I had a little bit of a background and was a fit for the company at the time, and have involved my position into creating marketing opportunities for Hill & Partners the last 5 or so years.
Okay. Now, I'm interested here in your concept of the brand environment. But and you've mentioned trade shows, both of you, but that's not all your business, right? Is that correct?
No, that's correct. We primarily create places and spaces that are all about a specific brand. So we create an immersive experience when you go into a trade show booth or a commercial lobby. It invokes a feeling of your brand, so everyone feels something.
Right. Now, so let's kind of go through the process here. Which is a typical company that you work with, maybe like one of your bigger clients that you go through the trade shows with?
Well, actually earlier when we were talking offline, talking about one of our favorite customers, Samsonite, is a perfect example of sort of the soup to nuts approach that we have with our customers.
Okay, so let's walk through the process. What would be the last work you did with Samsonite as far as a trade show goes?
Well, with them, it's a whole year-long program that we execute for them that is sort of in its early stages right around now and extends throughout the next fiscal year. So we've actually just completed 2013 for them. Okay.
So now what would be the first process starting going into 2014?
Well, this is where the company like Samsonite that has a real strong, actually in their case, international brand.
Correct.
They have so many different linears that they go out to speak about their brand. When it comes to the face-to-face marketing thing, they need partners, and that's where we partner. The place where it starts is in the strategic discussion about what next year's expectations are from a brand perspective.
Okay, and then it's what events. Now, are you suggesting events to them, or are they coming to you and saying, we have, this event, this event, this event for these different purposes throughout the process of the product that they're making and selling, correct?
Yes, actually, that's great question. Actually, both. So because we're sort of like a good mutual fund, we are in a lot of different industries and we get a lot of exposure to different shows and opportunities or events or anything that's out there. We often suggest things that we're seeing happening that other companies are doing. But for the most part, the sophisticated brand manager in a company like Samsonite, they have their top line list of things that they want to do that'll meet the needs of their salespeople and their product development people.
Right. But one of the values that Samsonite gets from you guys is that you're going across industries, so you're seeing something kind of getting hot in another industry, a way of presenting that brand, you're bringing it now to the luggage industry that it just wouldn't get there otherwise.
Exactly. In fact, that's one of our differentiators, is that we're often looking for things that work in other places that may really add value in the space that they're in. And with Samsonite particularly, they had a relatively unsophisticated B2B face-to-face marketing program because they were doing so much through their distributor networks.
Okay.
It's completely transformed in the last 5 years. So,
Oh,
and
very
we've been
interesting.
a big part of that.
Okay, so 5 years ago, Samsonite was what primarily was their avenue for sales, was through distributors?
Yes, they have a really strong distributor, a lot of relationships with retailers. They did go to shows, but often it came out of the need presented by the distributors or those people they worked with. So as
in other words, they were going to the shows not because they were excited to be there, but it was almost like an obligation because they had all the distributors as a way of they're going to get to see them, okay? But they weren't overly excited about building their product out at these shows.
Correct, and that's you get this really well. The interesting thing about it is when it's driven by a distributor, their goal is to move the product that they think will move in the marketplace. Our customers, the product's moving. They have that whole that part of it set up. They want to have a stronger introduction of the brand, the lifestyle, and that's where we come in.
Okay, so now how have you worked with Samsonite 2 in the last 5 years to kind of change what they're trying to do and what shows they're going to, and how you're helping them represent their product so that it's improving their business outside of the realm of the distributor?
Well, I think the key ingredient that we seem to find that's common across all of our customers is we end up finding someone in a C-level position in a marketing role that believes in collaboration. And where we fit well is when you put distributors or product managers or product development people and the marketing department in one room with us, we start to have a really open dialogue about what's possible. And what you find is everybody has a different sort of thing they want to accomplish related to the brand. Some people it's sales, some people it's introducing a new product. So that's where we find that our best customers, it seems to start around that table. And then what we usually do and what we usually propose is a picture's worth 1,000 words. And people are typically better critics than creators. So we go through a design.
It's a lot easier to be a critic than a creator.
Yeah, so we actually go through this proactive process of sort of coming up with conceptual design that people can critique or play around with. And what you find is these different factions in organizations that are often separated, they sort of come together on what they like and they don't like. And then the evolution of a design or an execution or a program
that kind of fulfills everybody's needs and kind of crosses all the gaps of the little turf wars that are going on.
Exactly. So if I'm a salesperson and you're taking me out of my day-to-day to go to a trade show, I may say to the market, what kind of people are you going to get there for me to do my work?
Right.
And we'll propose sort of pre-event activities, marketing invitations, anything that will sort of chum the water, per se. And that's just the beginning.
Okay. So that's very interesting. So now you've kind of got the company on page of what the real purpose of their branding at these business events should be. Okay, and you're bringing the right people to those events. Okay, I give you an example. I went to an event where Kodak was there, and they literally had 100 guys. They would. They were like job justification. That's all it was. So I'm going to this trade show just so I can say, "See, I'm here." Someone noticed that I'm doing my job. Which really doesn't help the company at all, because what they really needed was the right type of people on that floor to interact with the business community that was coming around them.
Exactly. We would say in that situation, how many people do you send to the event? And they might say, "Oh, everybody goes."
Right.
And then we say, well, what about the idea that you only send the best people to that event? And really, it's self-serving to some extent, because typically there's sort of people grabbing at the available resources to do something, right? So less people means that maybe those resources can be applied elsewhere.
Now, when you're at the event, what have you done? Do you actually help design the booth or the products that they're representing there?
Yeah, actually, we do all the design work. We oversee all the fabrication of anything we design. We oversee all of the logistics associated with getting it to whatever destination it is. We oversee all the installation. We actually have people that stay throughout the event to make sure things go well. And that's a really unique differentiator for our company. And it really isn't even our idea. The customers that our best customers over the years sort of asked us, geez, can you stay? Or can you do this? Can you do that? And we started to look at that and say, sometimes, you're separated from what your real value is to the customer.
Right.
And we built our organization around what that value is for them versus maybe what our idea was in our head. Does that make sense?
Yep. Now, I can imagine that a lot of our listeners, when they think of a trade show, they think of like a 6x8 foot booth, with a little white curtain around the edges, and that's it. This is not what we're talking about here.
No, it is not.
No.
How big are some of the displays that you guys have done? Well,
our biggest show this year was out in Las Vegas for our longtime client, G-Tech. They did a 80 by 100 double deck booth that had two 20-foot by 20-foot LCD screens that flanked the front of it and 16-foot LED towers in the back of the booth. So it's not your typical trade show. This isn't the boat show. This is probably one of the biggest marketing expenses that our clients will have for the year. They choose to spend it on the trade show floor. Right, and they have to almost make it a wow event, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're in competition. What you have to understand, I don't know if you've ever been to one of these trade shows, our listeners, but I mean, there are all these booths and all these big companies vying for attention, to be the one standout booth that everyone remembers from that trade show.
Yes, okay. and when the booth gets to that scale, like you mentioned some of your experiences, there are events and activities within the event and the activity all in 4 days. So there was, at the G-Tech thing, there was a flash mob. There were special guest speakers, VIPs that come in to sign things, because in that situation, they're in the gaming industry. So there's a lot of games that are actually branded under other brands. So everybody gets sort of their chance in the sun. It's a blast, like Times Square.
Yeah. All right, great. It's been great talking to you guys. We've got to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Now, once again, here's Charlie Gilmore with more of South of Boston, a weekly presentation of Today's Easy 99.1.